Why did the Titanic, built in 1,200 days, sink in just 2 hours? April 10th, 1912, was the day when the world's largest and most expensive ship, the Titanic, was ready for its maiden voyage. The Atlantic Ocean was very calm that day, and there was no chance of a sea storm coming far away. 1,500 passengers had already boarded the ship, and millions of people were waiting to see the start of the Titanic's maiden voyage. Neither the passengers, nor the people who bid farewell, nor the Titanic's crew knew that the ship, which was about to leave in a little while, had made 6 such mistakes, which are going to make this ship the victim of the worst accident. Welcome back to Chronicle Inside's videos. Viewers, today you will learn about the 6 mistakes of the most expensive, most luxurious, and most powerful ship of its time, the Titanic. Mistakes which, if not made, perhaps today, the Titanic would not be famous in the world because of its crash, but because of its success. After all, what were the 6 mistakes that the 40-year-old Titanic's captain, Edward Smith, did not see? Forget the 40-year-old experience of the captain. The Titanic's operating company, the White Star Line, which had the experience of operating 107 ships, did not see these mistakes. In addition, the Titanic's manufacturing company, Harland and Wolff, did not see these mistakes, which had manufactured more than 500 ships before the Titanic. The construction of the Titanic began in 1907, and the ship was completed after about 3 years and 2,000 workers. Now the ship was completely ready, but the phase of testing it was still left. The trust of the Titanic makers increased when the Titanic successfully completed its first test run. As soon as the test was passed, it was marketed in various newspapers around the world with the heading of the unsinkable Titanic. The first journey of the ship was to start from Southampton, England, which was scheduled for April 10th, 1912, and its destination was New York City, USA. The cost of traveling in the economy portion of the Titanic was $30, while the cost of traveling in the first class was $150. As a result of this marketing, all the tickets were booked one by one, and finally, the day came when the Titanic was about to start its first journey. Mistake number 1. At exactly 12 o'clock in the afternoon, the Titanic began its first journey, and the Titanic's mistakes began to emerge. Captain Smith had received a deadline from the owners that he had to reach New York in any case by April 17th, that is, in just 7 days. For this reason, the captain had kept the speed of the ship very fast from the beginning, and this was the Titanic's first mistake. Captain Smith had to reach New York as soon as possible due to the instructions and pressure given by the owners, because it was the Titanic's first journey, and if he had not reached New York in time, the Titanic's reputation would have been greatly damaged. In a little while, the ship left the port of Southampton so far behind that now nothing was visible except the blue sea. Mistake number 2. Now 3 days had passed since the Titanic left. In addition to a short stop in France and Ireland, the Titanic continued to move towards New York for the last 72 hours. It was the evening of April 14th, 1912. There was silence and fog all over the sea, which reduced visibility considerably. On the same night, another ship, which was just a few hours ahead of the Titanic, warned the Titanic on the wireless about floating rocks, means icebergs. Experts believe that this warning was given at least 6 times, but due to the negligence of the wireless operators, these extremely important warnings were missed. For them, this was normal. But this was the second mistake of the Titanic's crew. Because the Titanic was the first luxury ship of its kind, and there were many VIPs in it, most of the Titanic's crew was busy serving first-class passengers. If these warnings had been taken seriously, the whole scene would have been different. Mistake number 3. The speed of the ship was also high, and a very important warning had also been missed from them. The Titanic was now rapidly increasing in the range of the iceberg in a fearless manner. But the Titanic could still be saved from the accident because the ship had a guard alert, which was ready to give any information about the iceberg to the captain from a distance. But they didn't have anything to see from a distance, and that thing was a binocular. Yes, the guards were alert, but they couldn't see the iceberg from a distance because there was no binocular. And this was the third mistake of the Titanic. Captain Smith learned of the iceberg when the ship's guards told him that the iceberg was the size of a football field right in front of the ship. But now it was too late because the iceberg had come very close. Mistake number 4. Because in the Atlantic Ocean, ships often have to face such icebergs, which large ships can easily handle. Perhaps Captain Smith also thought the same. As soon as he got the news of the iceberg, Captain Smith ordered to shut down the ship's engine and also ordered to change the course of the Titanic. No doubt Captain Smith tried to escape the iceberg, but the distance was so short that doing anything proved futile. The iceberg had now collided with the center of the Titanic, but there was still a lot of hope for the Titanic to survive. The only hope was that the iceberg would not damage the ship's body, or it would break itself when it collided with the ship. And maybe it would have happened if the Titanic's fourth mistake didn't work. Experts believe that the rivets on the Titanic's body were made of cast iron, not steel. The work of these rivets is to keep the large pieces of iron together. But because cast iron is softer than steel, the rivets in the place where the iceberg collided with the Titanic's body opened due to pressure. And then what happened was what Captain Smith was afraid of. The Titanic had collided with a football field-sized iceberg, and now water had begun to fill the lower part of the ship. This dangerous event had alerted all the crew and passengers, as well as the owner of the ship, Joseph Bruce. No doubt water had begun to fill the Titanic, but there was still hope for the Titanic to survive. Because the Titanic was designed in such a way that even if water was filled in its 3 floors, it would not sink. But it was unfortunate for the ship that after crossing 3 floors, the water had now reached the 4th floor. Now the matter was out of hand. The Titanic was slowly sinking into the ocean. Now, without worrying about the ship, it was time to save the lives of the passengers present in it. Captain Smith issued an emergency alert on the radio. By the time someone came to help, the passengers were planned to be shifted to lifeboats. But on this occasion, the 5th mistake did its job. Yes, the ship had a total of 32 lifeboats, but only 20 boats were kept due to miscalculation. The passengers were 1,500 and the boats were only 20. Mistake number 6. There was chaos everywhere, and everyone wanted to get on those few boats. At 12:45, the first emergency boat was dropped into the sea. But here was another 6th mistake. In the chaos, the boats were dropped into the sea without being fully filled, in which most of the first-class passengers were preferred. That is, the people who were richer were seated first. If more passengers were seated in the boats, human life would have been less wasted. Now the ship was sinking rapidly into the sea. At 2:18, all the lights of the Titanic were extinguished due to a short circuit, and in the next moment, the ship broke into 2 parts. Thus, it took the Titanic 2 hours and 40 minutes to sink completely into the sea. And in this way, 1,500 people drowned in the cold water of the Atlantic Ocean. Let me tell you one more thing. The temperature of the water was -2 degrees centigrade at that time. That is, even if the passengers jumped into the cold water, there was no chance of survival. Because a person cannot live more than 30 minutes at such a low temperature, it is said that the number of dead was more than 1,500, because many of the people who knew the ship were on board the ship without a ticket. Most of the survivors were children and women. On the other hand, it was Captain Smith who kept saving people's lives.